Move, mall rat! You're blocking the mirror. Cody Howler's voice sliced through the boutique like a blade, venom curling around every word. He snatched the silk scarf from Amara Wells's hands and threw it to the floor, smirking as Brett and Skylar circled like vultures. "Didn't know they let your kind shop here," Skylar sneered. Phone raised to record the humiliation. Laughter echoed, cruel and eager, as Amara's trembling fingers hovered over the scarf, not from fear, but from the fire she was holding back. They thought they'd found an easy victim. One store away, Sergeant Lena Wells, Special Forces, and Amara's mother, was already moving, her eyes locked on them. When she stepped into the boutique, the laughter died. The boys froze, their mockery turning to silence beneath the steady stare of a soldier who'd ended real wars. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The morning sun streamed through the glass ceiling of Riverstone Galleria, casting warm patches of light across the polished floor. Amara Wells folded the last cashmere sweater with practiced care, smoothing its soft surface before adding it to the neat stack on the boutique's display table. Her favorite R&B playlist hummed through her earbuds, making the final tasks of her shift flow like a gentle dance. "That's the last one," she said to Maya Kim, who was arranging jewelry at the counter nearby. "I can't believe how many people tried on this sweater today." Maya grinned, adjusting a row of delicate necklaces. "I know, but you're so patient with them. I would have lost it after the third person left it in a ball in the changing room." Amara shrugged, unable to hide her smile. "Mom always says discipline isn't just for the easy moments." She checked her phone. 11:58 a.m. Perfect timing. The boutique gleamed around them, everything in its place. Through the store's entrance, weekend shoppers strolled past with shopping bags and coffee cups, their chatter creating a comfortable background hum. Amara loved these Saturday morning shifts. The mall felt alive, but not overwhelming, filled with families and friends enjoying their weekend routines. "Speaking of your mom," Maya said, "how's her wrist doing?" "Better, I think. Physical therapy's helping." Amara pulled out her phone. "I should check in with her about Aunt Geneva's birthday present." She tapped the FaceTime icon, and moments later, her mother's face filled the screen. Sergeant Lena Wells appeared to be surrounded by hanging clothes, her dark hair pulled back in its usual neat bun. A black brace wrapped around her right wrist. "Hey, baby girl," Lena said, her voice warm. "Just organizing this disaster of a closet. These military habits die hard." "Mom, you've been home 3 weeks and you're still organizing?" Amara teased. "What's left?" "Don't sass me about my systems," Lena replied with a mock stern look that quickly melted into a smile. "How was your shift?" "Good. Actually, I wanted to ask, is it okay if I look for Aunt Geneva's scarf now? The new shipment just came in, and they have those silk ones she likes." Maya popped her head into the frame. "Hi, Sergeant Wells. I can help Amara pick something out. We got some really beautiful patterns today." "Maya, honey, how many times do I have to tell you to call me Lena?" She adjusted the phone, revealing more of the meticulously arranged closet behind her. "And yes, Amara, that's perfect timing. Your aunt's been dropping hints about those scarves for months." "More like announcing it at every Sunday dinner," Amara laughed. "How's the wrist today?" Lena flexed her hand carefully. "Better. PT's rough, but you know me, one goal at a time, steady progress." She demonstrated her improved range of motion. "The therapist says I'm ahead of schedule." "Because you never skip your exercises," Amara said proudly. She'd watched her mother approach recovery with the same focus she brought to everything. Methodical, determined, no shortcuts. "That's my girl, always keeping me accountable." Lena's eyes softened. You need my card for the scarf? No, I've got my birthday money from last month. I wanted to get this one myself. Okay, baby. Just don't spend too long at the mall. You've got that debate team practice later, right? Not until 4, Mom. Plenty of time. Amara glanced at Maya, who was giving her a thumbs up. Maya's going to help me choose. Perfect. Love you, baby girl. Maya, keep this one out of trouble. Lena's eyes crinkled with amusement. Love you too, Mom. I'll show you what I pick when I get home. After ending the call, Amara clocked out and gathered her things from the break room. She slipped her denim jacket on over her white t-shirt, checking her reflection in the mirror. The jacket was her favorite. Soft from wear, decorated with enamel pins from debate tournaments and art museums. Ready to shop? Maya asked, hanging up her name tag. I saw this gorgeous blue and gold print yesterday that would look amazing on your aunt. They stepped out into the main atrium together. The mall buzzed with weekend energy, kids racing to the pretzel stand, couples window shopping, elderly mall walkers completing their morning laps. Sunlight poured through the massive skylights, making the marble floors gleam. Which section had the new scarves? Amara adjusted her earbuds, letting one song fade into another. Over by the fountain, Maya pointed. They just moved the display yesterday. As they walked, Amara noticed distant laughter, sharp, somehow different from the general mall chatter. She glanced around but saw only the usual Saturday crowd. Shrugging it off, she followed Maya toward the scarf display, already picturing how pleased Aunt Geneva would be with the perfect gift. The scarves hung in elegant rows, a rainbow of silk and chiffon. Amara reached out to touch a midnight blue one, with intricate gold patterns woven through it. Behind her, that same strange laughter floated past again, but she was too focused on the beautiful fabrics to pay it much attention. Amara ran her fingers over the silk scarves, each one a different shade and pattern. The midnight blue one with gold threading caught her eye. Elegant, but not flashy. Exactly Aunt Geneva's style. Maya held up a deep purple option with silver accents. What about this one? Maya asked. It would look amazing with her church suits. That strange laughter echoed again, closer now. Amara turned and found herself face to face with Cody Haller. He held his phone up, camera pointed directly at her. Brett and Skylar flanked him, smirking. Security check, Cody announced loudly, his voice dripping with fake authority. We've got reports of suspicious activity in this area. Amara's stomach tightened, but she kept her face neutral. Other shoppers glanced their way, then quickly looked away. She tried to step around them, but Brett shifted to block her path. Excuse me, Amara said firmly. I'm shopping. Oh, shopping? Cody's eyes widened with exaggerated concern. These are pretty expensive scarves. You sure you can afford something like this? Heat crept up Amara's neck, but her mother's voice echoed in her head. Stay calm. Assess the situation. Maintain control. I work here, she said evenly. Now please, move. Working here doesn't mean you can afford it. Brett chimed in, adopting an awful imitation of a mall security guard's voice. Mind if we check those pockets? Just protocol, you understand? Skylar giggled, phone steady in her hands. It's just a joke. Why so serious? Maya stepped forward, her voice shaking slightly. Leave her alone. We both work here, and we know the real security guards. Brett's hand shot out, shoving Maya's shoulder hard enough to make her stumble. Nobody asked you. Don't touch her, Amara warned, her calm starting to crack. She reached for her phone, but Brett was faster. With a quick motion, he knocked her hat off. It hit the floor with a soft pat. There! Now you look honest, he sneered. The mall's chatter continued around them, but Amara heard only the blood rushing in her ears. She bent down slowly, deliberately, and picked up her hat. Years of watching her mother taught her how to move with purpose, how to make each gesture count. She straightened up, looked Brett directly in the eyes and said quietly, "You'll regret that." Something flickered in Brett's expression, uncertainty, maybe fear, but Cody just laughed louder. "Ooh, is that a threat? Better get that on camera, Sky." "Perfect angle," Skylar confirmed, still filming. Amara clutched her hat tight, scanning for mall security or any adult who might help. But the nearby shoppers had drifted away, leaving this corner by the scarves oddly isolated. "Come on," she said to Maya, trying to push past them again. "Let's go." "But we're not done with our security check." Cody grabbed her braid, yanking her backward. Pain shot through Amara's scalp. Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. The screen lit up, still recording from her earlier call with her mom. "Stop it!" Maya's scream cut through the mall noise. "Help! Somebody help!" But Cody and Brett were already dragging Amara toward a service corridor, their grips painful on her arms. Skylar followed, still recording, her laugh now holding a nervous edge. The bright mall lights gave way to fluorescent bulbs. The temperature dropped several degrees. Gone were the weekend shoppers, the cheerful music from stores, the safe feeling of being in public. Now it was just Amara, 3 bullies, and a dark corridor stretching ahead. The air felt different here, heavy with threat and hidden from view. Maya's screams seemed to fade behind them, muffled by the service door swinging shut. Amara's heart hammered against her ribs, but she forced herself to notice details, just like her mother taught her. Security camera in the corner. Exit sign glowing at the far end. The sound of her phone still recording somewhere on the floor outside. She memorized their faces. Cody's cruel smile. Brett's clenched jaw. Skylar's uncertain eyes behind her phone. She would remember everything. Every second. Every touch. Every word. They thought they had cornered someone weak. They thought this was just another joke for their social media followers. They thought there would be no consequences. But they didn't know Sergeant Lena Wells's daughter. They didn't know about the years of learning to stay focused under pressure, of watching her mother handle crisis after crisis with steady hands and clear eyes. They didn't know that sometimes the quietest person in the room was the most dangerous. "Get her against the wall," Cody commanded, still playing to Skylar's camera. "Let's see how tough she really is." Brett's grip tightened on Amara's arm. The corridor lights buzzed overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a door slammed. Maya's voice echoed from beyond the service door, screaming for security. But in this hidden space, away from the mall's bright safety, Amara felt the shift from public humiliation to something darker. The pretense of a joke was falling away, revealing the ugly truth beneath their actions. The cold corridor wall pressed against her back. 3 faces loomed close, phones recording her fear, expecting her to break. But Amara Wells was her mother's daughter, and this was far from over. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting harsh shadows in the service corridor. Amara's heart pounded against her ribs as their footsteps echoed off the concrete walls. The beautiful midnight blue scarf she'd picked for Aunt Geneva dangled from her trembling fingers. The last piece of the normal Saturday morning she'd been having just minutes ago. Cody's face twisted with cruel satisfaction as he circled her. The phone in his hand captured every second, every angle of her fear. The service hall felt like it was closing in, the walls too close, the air too thick. "Not so tough now, are you?" Cody taunted, his voice bouncing off the walls. He reached out suddenly, slapping the scarf from her grip. It fluttered to the dirty floor like a fallen bird. Then came the word, that horrible word, spat at her with such venom it made her flinch. Amara's hands curled into fists. Her mother's training kicked in. Assess threats, find exits, stay focused. 3 teenagers, 1 exit behind them, another at the far end of the hall. Security camera in the corner, probably connected to the mall's system. "You're not brave," she said, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. "Not without your little camera crew, not without an audience." Brett's face reddened. "Shut up!" He lunged forward, grabbing her wrist and twisting hard enough to make her gasp. Pain shot up her arm, but Amara didn't hesitate. She drove her knee up hard, catching Brett's shin. He yelped, loosening his grip just enough. She wrenched free and sprinted toward the exit, but Skylar stepped into her path, still filming with shaking hands. "Don't let her leave!" Cody shouted. Through the service door's small window, Amara could see Maya in the mall corridor, phone pressed to her ear. Her friend's face was pale with fear as she spoke rapidly, clearly calling for help. Amara caught fragments of her words. "Security! Please, hurry! 3 of them!" Maya's fingers flew across her phone screen again. Another call. Amara knew who she was calling. Mom. The thought gave her strength. Heavy footsteps approached from the main corridor. The service door burst open, and Officer Trent Madsen filled the frame. His security uniform was pressed sharp, his badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights. But his eyes were hard as they landed on Amara. "Stand down!" he barked at her, one hand moving to rest on his radio. "Everyone freeze!" Cody, Brett, and Skylar immediately stepped back, their demeanor shifting like flipped switches. Phones disappeared into pockets. Innocent expressions replaced sneers. "Officer," Cody said, his voice dripping with fake relief. "Thank goodness you're here. She just went crazy and attacked us." "We were just walking by," Brett added quickly, rubbing his shin. "She came out of nowhere." Madsen's gaze swept the scene, settling on Amara's defensive stance. "Young lady, put your hands where I can see them." "They attacked me," Amara protested, tasting blood from her split lip. "Check the security cameras. Check their phones." "I said hands where I can see them." Madsen's voice echoed sharply off the walls. He grabbed his radio, pressing the talk button. "This is Chief Madsen. I have a juvenile assault suspect contained in Service Corridor B. Backup requested." The radio crackled with confirmation as Amara's heart sank. This was wrong. All wrong. She could see Madsen already building his narrative, the story he wanted to believe about a troubled teen causing problems. Through the door's window, Maya was still on the phone, tears streaming down her face as she spoke urgently. Amara caught her eye and saw her friend mouth 2 words that made hope flutter in her chest. "She's coming." Across town, tires squealed against pavement as a car engine roared to life. Lena Wells had received Maya's call, and nothing would slow her arrival. The fluorescent lights continued their relentless buzz. Madsen positioned himself between Amara and the exit, his hand still on his radio. Cody and his friends huddled together, their innocent act holding steady under the security chief's protective presence. Amara touched her split lip, fingers coming away with spots of red. Her wrist throbbed where Brett had grabbed her. The beautiful scarf lay forgotten on the floor, its gold threads catching the harsh light. Evidence of how quickly a normal day could turn dangerous. She straightened her spine, remembering her mother's lessons about staying clear-headed under pressure. Document everything. Remember details. Don't let them see fear. The security camera above would have caught it all, if anyone bothered to check the footage. The radio at Madsen's hip crackled again with questions about the situation. He kept his stern gaze fixed on Amara as he responded, using words like aggressor and contained. Each wrong assumption, each twisted fact, made her anger burn hotter. Maya's face appeared in the window again, phone still pressed to her ear. Her free hand pressed against the glass, a silent promise that help was coming. That truth would arrive soon at high speed, wearing combat boots and carrying 2 decades of Special Forces authority. The service corridor's air grew heavier with tension. Madsen's radio squawked. Cody's smirk flickered at the edges. And somewhere in the distance, a car engine revved louder, eating up the miles between a mother and her daughter. Lena Wells moved through the mall with measured strides, her combat boots silent against the polished floor. Years of special forces training showed in every controlled movement. Her breathing remained steady, her eyes constantly scanning. Exits, cameras, crowd positions. The wrist brace felt tight against her skin, but adrenaline had pushed the ache away the moment Maya's call came through. Shoppers parted before her purposeful advance. Some noticed her military bearing, the way she assessed the space with practiced efficiency. A child tugged his mother's sleeve, pointing at Lena's rigid posture and intense focus. The service corridor entrance came into view. Maya stood by the door, tears streaking her face, phone clutched to her chest. She pointed wordlessly at the entrance. Raised voices echoed from inside. Madsen's authoritative bark. Amara's protests. Boys' laughter. Through the door's window, Lena saw Officer Madsen reaching for Amara's arm. Her daughter backed away, hands raised. Behind her, Cody held his phone up, recording with a satisfied smirk, while Skylar provided additional camera angles. Brett stood ready to block any escape attempt. Lena's hand pushed the door open. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across the scene as she stepped inside. Her entrance was quiet, but her presence filled the narrow space like a sudden change in air pressure. "I said stop resisting," Madsen was saying, fingers closing around Amara's wrist. "Young lady, you're only making this worse," he continued, reaching for his handcuffs. Lena's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Back up. Now." The words weren't loud, but they carried absolute authority. Everyone froze. The air crackled with sudden electricity. Madsen's head snapped toward her, his hand still gripping the handcuffs. Cody's phone wavered, his triumphant expression faltering. "Ma'am, this is a security matter," Madsen said, trying to maintain control. "I need you to step back." "Security Chief Madsen," Lena interrupted, her tone precise and measured. "I am Sergeant Lena Wells, retired Special Forces. That's my daughter you're attempting to restrain without cause or witness statements. Your actions violate Mall Security Protocol Section 4.3 regarding minor detainment." She took another step forward. "You have multiple phones recording evidence of assault against my daughter. There's a security camera in the corner that captured everything. And you're about to illegally detain a minor without parent notification or proper documentation." Madsen's grip on the handcuffs loosened. Sweat beaded on his forehead. "Amara," Lena said calmly, "retrieve your phone. It's still recording audio, correct?" "Yes, ma'am," Amara replied, her voice stronger now. She moved carefully to where her phone lay, screen still bright with the active recording. Mall customers had begun gathering at the service corridor entrance. Several held up phones capturing the confrontation. An elderly woman in a floral dress spoke loudly to her companion. "That security man tried to handcuff that poor girl while those boys just laughed." "State law requires you to secure all evidence," Lena continued, addressing Madsen, "including the phones currently in those young men's possession. I trust you're familiar with Section 837.5 regarding preservation of digital evidence?" Cody's smirk had completely vanished. He lowered his phone, glancing nervously at his friends. Brett and Skylar stepped back, their earlier confidence evaporating under Lena's steady gaze. I'll need to call my supervisor," Madsen stammered, his authoritative facade crumbling. "Already done," came a new voice. An older man in a blazer with a mall management badge pushed through the gathered crowd. "I'm Operations Director Phillips. We've reviewed the corridor camera feed. Officer Madsen, stand down." Madsen's shoulders slumped. He stepped back from Amara, clipping his handcuffs back to his belt. "You three," Phillips pointed at Cody, Brett, and Skylar. Your mall privileges are suspended pending review. Security will escort you out. Your phones will be held as evidence. My dad's the DA, Cody protested, but his voice cracked. You can't. That's exactly why we're doing this by the book. Phillips cut him off. Hand over the phones. Now. 2 more security officers appeared, holding out evidence bags. The boys reluctantly surrendered their devices, their former bravado completely deflated. Lena stepped forward and placed a gentle arm around Amara's shoulders. You did everything right, she said softly. Stayed calm, remembered details, created evidence. Together, they walked toward the exit. The crowd parted respectfully, several people nodding in approval. An older veteran touched his baseball cap in silent solidarity as they passed. Behind them, they could hear Phillips directing the collection of witness statements. Cody stood against the wall, phone gone, looking small and shaken as he watched mother and daughter leave. His attempt at viral fame had backfired spectacularly, undone by a mother who knew exactly how to fight back, not with force, but with disciplined, devastating competence. Maya fell into step beside them, still wiping tears but smiling now. That was amazing, Sergeant Wells, she whispered. Lena squeezed her daughter closer as they walked through the bright mall atrium. Amara's split lip would need attention, and there would be reports to file. But for now, she focused on the steady rhythm of their steps, the warmth of her daughter beside her, and the satisfaction of having turned a moment of fear into a lesson about standing firm in the face of injustice. Amara sat cross-legged on their living room couch, poking at her chicken lo mein with chopsticks. The mall incident had left her stomach in knots, but Lena insisted she eat something. Steam rose from the white takeout containers spread across their coffee table. How's your lip feeling? Lena asked, settling beside her daughter with an ice pack wrapped in a kitchen towel. Still stings. Amara pressed the ice pack gently against her face. But the urgent care doctor said it won't scar. Lena nodded, pulling out her laptop. We need to document everything while it's fresh. Times, names, exact words, if you remember them. You sound like you're writing a mission report, Amara said with a weak smile. Old habits. Lena's fingers moved across the keyboard. Details matter. Especially with people like Cody Haller, who think money and connections make them untouchable. Amara's phone buzzed. A message from Maya popped up. You okay? Still can't believe how your mom handled everything. Those jerks looked ready to wet themselves. A small laugh escaped Amara's lips as she typed back. Better now. Thanks for calling her so fast. Maya did good, Lena commented, glancing at the message. Quick thinking under pressure. That's rare. More texts arrived from Maya. Everyone at work is talking about it. Even Mr. Phillips said your mom was amazing, like a real-life superhero or something. The house phone rang, interrupting their conversation. Aunt Geneva's voice filled the speaker when Lena hit the answer button. Lord have mercy, baby girl. Geneva's words trembled with emotion. Maya's mama just called me about what happened. You both okay? We're fine, Aunt Geneva, Amara assured her. Mom shut it down pretty fast. Course she did. That's my Lena. Cool as ice when it counts. Geneva's voice swelled with pride. And you, Miss Amara. Keeping your head even when they tried to rattle you. You're your mother's daughter through and through. Amara felt warmth spread through her chest at her aunt's words. The tension in her shoulders began to ease. Those boys' parents better pray I don't see them at church tomorrow, Geneva continued. The nerve of them, thinking they can treat our children like that in broad daylight. We're handling it properly, Lena said, still typing. Through channels. Well, you just let me know if you need anything. The whole neighborhood's behind you. Pastor Williams already asked about putting you both in special prayers. After saying goodbye to Geneva, Amara curled deeper into the couch cushions. The events of the day felt surreal now, like watching a movie of someone else's life. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Maya. "Mom!" Amara's voice cracked. They posted something. Lena moved closer as Amara opened the video link. The footage started mid-confrontation, heavily edited. The moment when Brett grabbed Amara's wrist was cut out completely. Instead, it showed only her jerking away and kicking, making it look like an unprovoked attack. The caption read, "Crazy shoplifter gets owned. DA's son keeps his cool." Comments were already piling up. "Look at her attacking those nice boys. This is why we need more security at the mall. Typical thug behavior. Thank God for Cody Haller standing up to this." Amara's hands shook as she scrolled. Each hateful comment felt like another slap across her face. A news notification popped up. District Attorney Marshall Haller had released a statement. "I'm proud of how my son maintained his civility today when confronted with aggression. This incident highlights the importance of proper security measures in our community spaces." "He's lying," Amara whispered. "They're all lying." "And we have proof," Lena replied, her voice steady. She was already downloading the original video files to her secure drive. "Your phone audio, the mall cameras, witness statements. Truth doesn't disappear just because someone tries to bury it." Another notification appeared, an email from Principal Brandt. "Dear Wells and Haller families, I've been made aware of today's unfortunate incident at Riverstone Mall. Jefferson High takes any conflict between students seriously. I urge both parties to consider this a mutual misunderstanding that we can resolve through proper dialogue. Let's focus on moving forward positively. A meeting to discuss this matter is scheduled for Monday morning. Best regards, Principal Eliza Brandt." "Mutual misunderstanding?" Amara's voice rose. "They attacked me. They filmed it for fun." "She's protecting the school's image," Lena said, her jaw tightening as she read the email. "And probably the Haller's feelings. Easier to push for compromise than stand up to a district attorney." Amara hugged her knees to her chest. What if people believe their version? What if colleges see it? "Look at me," Lena turned, placing both hands on her daughter's shoulders. "They think their money and influence make them powerful. But you know what's stronger? The truth, backed by evidence, witnesses, and a mother who knows exactly how to fight back." She returned to her laptop, expression set with quiet determination. On the screen, she created a new folder labeled Mall Incident Evidence. The edited video wouldn't be the last word. Not by a long shot. Sunday dawned crisp and clear. Lena was already up at 5:30 a.m., a habit 2 decades of military service had permanently etched into her body clock. She moved quietly through the kitchen, not wanting to wake Amara just yet. The coffee maker hummed to life as she pulled out her weathered notebook and a black pen. The kitchen table became her command center. She wrote in precise block letters at the top of a fresh page. Incident response. Action items. Below, she started listing bullet points, each one a piece of the strategy taking shape in her mind. Her phone displayed 6 a.m. Early, but not too early for someone she needed to call. Lena scrolled through her contacts to a name, Aisha Porter. They'd met through a veterans support network last year. Aisha had made her reputation dismantling cases built on prejudice and police overreach. The call connected on the 3rd ring. "Lena, everything okay?" "Need your counsel, Aisha. Got a situation with my daughter." Lena laid out the facts in clear, chronological order. The mall assault, the edited video, the district attorney's involvement. Aisha listened without interrupting, only the soft sound of her pen scratching paper in the background. "Send me everything you have," Aisha said when Lena finished. "Original footage, phone recordings, medical report, and Lena? Smart move documenting it all immediately." These cases often come down to who controls the narrative first. Meeting Maya and Amara at 9 to nail down the timeline. I'll have it to you by noon. I'll clear my schedule. And Lena, you did right calling me early. Cases like this, time matters. After hanging up, Lena heard movement upstairs. Amara was awake. She poured a second cup of coffee, adding the hazelnut creamer her daughter loved. "Morning, baby," Lena said, as Amara appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas. "Sleep okay?" "Not really." Amara slumped into a chair, accepting the coffee gratefully. "Kept checking my phone. The comments got worse overnight." "Don't read them anymore," Lena said firmly. "That's what they want, to get in your head. Focus on what we can control." Maya's meeting us at 9. At the mall's bright cafe, Maya was already waiting, fidgeting with her phone. She jumped up when she saw them, hugging Amara tightly. "I brought my work schedule from yesterday," Maya said, pulling out a crumpled timesheet. "And I wrote down everything I remember, like when they first started following Amara." "Good thinking," Lena approved, spreading her notebook on the table. "Let's build this piece by piece." For the next hour, they reconstructed events in precise detail. Maya's shift log confirmed when Amara clocked out. Security cameras would show Cody's group entering shortly after. Amara's phone had captured audio from the moment it fell. "Okay," Lena said, checking her watch. "Time to request that footage." The mall's management office was tucked away in a back corridor. A receptionist directed them to Officer Madsen's desk, where he sat reviewing papers with exaggerated focus. "We need copies of yesterday's security footage," Lena stated, setting a formal request letter on his desk. "Specifically from cameras C4 through C7 between 2:00 and 2:45 p.m. Madsen barely looked up. "System's been glitchy. Lots of corrupted files lately." "Interesting timing," Lena replied evenly. "We'll need documentation of when these glitches were first reported." "File a request," he muttered, sliding her letter aside. "I'll look into it when I can." As they left the office, an older man in gray coveralls was mopping the floor. His name tag read Julio Ruiz. He glanced up briefly, then spoke in a low voice as they passed. "Señora, those cameras work fine. But sometimes tapes disappear when certain people need them to." Lena nodded slightly, understanding his risk in speaking up. "Thank you, Mr. Ruiz." Back home, Amara connected her phone to the laptop. The audio file uploaded clearly. Every word, including Cody's racial slur, preserved in digital clarity. "This is good," Lena said, making copies to multiple drives. "Their edited video shows what they wanted people to see. Your phone caught what really happened." She checked the time. Nearly noon. "Time to send everything to Aisha." "I need to drop these files off," Lena told Amara. "Want to come with?" "Actually," Amara hesitated, "Maya asked if I could come over. Her mom's making lunch. Is that okay?" "Of course." Lena squeezed her shoulder. "Try to relax a little. I've got this part handled." Driving home later, Lena's trained eye caught the patrol car parked 2 blocks from their house. Standard-issue Ford, looking a little too pristine for regular patrol duty. She slowed slightly, memorizing the plate number without obvious attention. In her driveway, she added one more bullet point to her notebook. PPD vehicle number 247. Unmarked observation. Then she went inside to start dinner, outwardly calm. Let them watch. She'd learned long ago. The ones who relied on intimidation were usually the ones with something to hide. Monday morning arrived with a heavy gray sky threatening rain. Lena's SUV pulled into Jefferson High's crowded drop-off lane. But instead of letting Amara out, she put the car in park. "I'm walking in with you," she said, her tone leaving no room for debate. Amara adjusted her backpack. "Mom, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." Lena's eyes softened. "And you know why." They crossed the parking lot together, Lena's combat boots clicking steadily against the asphalt. Her military bearing drew stares from students lounging near the entrance. Some pulled out phones, whispering behind their hands. Near the main doors, Brett and Schuyler leaned against the wall, phones ready. Their smirks faltered when they saw Lena. She met their gaze directly, and they quickly looked away. Inside, the hallway buzzed with Monday morning energy, but a hush followed Amara and Lena like a wave. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Locker doors closed more quietly. Even teachers paused in their doorways, watching. Maya appeared through the crowd, falling into step beside them. "Principal Brandt wants to see you both," she said quietly. "She's been asking about you since first bell." The main office smelled of coffee and copy paper. Ms. Reynolds, the secretary, barely glanced up from her computer. "Go right in," she said. "She's expecting you." Principal Brandt stood behind her desk, a practiced smile fixed on her face. Her blazer matched the industrial gray carpet exactly, as if she were trying to blend into the walls of her own office. "Sergeant Wells, Amara, please, sit down." She gestured to 2 chairs. "I've been very concerned about this situation." "Have you?" Lena's voice was carefully neutral. "Of course." Brandt's smile tightened. "Any conflict between students affects our whole community. That's why I've scheduled a restorative meeting for Wednesday afternoon. Both families, neutral mediator?" "No." Lena's response was immediate. Brandt blinked. "I'm sorry?" "My daughter isn't negotiating with hate," Lena said. "There's nothing to restore here. Cody and his friends committed assault. They filmed it. They edited the footage to lie about it. And now they're trying to intimidate witnesses." "That's a very serious accusation." Brandt's tone sharpened. "We need to maintain neutrality." "Neutrality?" Lena leaned forward. "My daughter was attacked in broad daylight. There's video evidence, multiple witnesses, a police report. What exactly are we being neutral about?" "Mrs. Wells." "Sergeant," Lena corrected quietly. "Sergeant Wells," Brandt continued. "I understand you're upset. But these are complex situations. Social dynamics, peer relationships. Racism isn't complex." Amara spoke up suddenly. Her voice was steady despite her trembling hands. "Neither is assault." Brandt's smile vanished entirely. "Amara, you need to understand that your actions have consequences. College recommendations, leadership positions, these things require a cooperative spirit." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Lena stood slowly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Are you threatening my daughter's academic future because she won't participate in your cover-up?" "That's not what I—" "It's exactly what you meant." Lena's voice was ice. "And I want it noted that you chose to threaten a victim of documented assault rather than address the perpetrators." "Sergeant Wells, we're done here." Lena opened the door. "Any further communication can go through our lawyer." In the hallway, Amara's composure cracked slightly. "Mom, what if she really does mess up my recommendations? Then we'll add academic retaliation to the lawsuit." Lena squeezed her daughter's shoulder. "Focus on your classes. Let me handle this part." The day dragged by slowly. Amara texted updates between periods, whispered comments, sideways looks, one shoulder check that definitely wasn't accidental. Lena documented everything, her worry growing with each message. That evening, while reviewing security camera angles on her laptop, Lena's phone buzzed with an unknown number. The message was simple: "Stop before someone gets hurt." Her military training kicked in immediately. She took a screenshot, noting the time and number. Then she called Maya's house. Maya's mother answered, sounding worried. "Maya just got a strange text. She's pretty shaken up. Can you send me a screenshot?" Moments later, Maya's message appeared, identical words, different number. Lena went to her evidence board, where timelines and photos created a web of connections. She printed both threatening texts, noting timestamps and numbers, and pinned them carefully in sequence. "We're not scared," she said aloud, though her voice trembled slightly. She stared at the board, at the pattern of escalation emerging. First public harassment, then physical assault, followed by digital manipulation, institutional pressure, and now direct threats. Each step designed to intimidate, to force compliance through fear. The tremor in her voice wasn't fear, it was rage. Rage at a system that protected bullies, at adults who chose convenience over justice, at the casual cruelty that her daughter faced simply for existing. Her phone buzzed again. Aisha Porter calling back. "I got your update," the lawyer said. "Those threats change things. We can file for an emergency restraining order tomorrow morning." "Good." Lena looked at her evidence board. "Because this stops now." The old wooden floors of First Baptist's Fellowship Hall creaked under the weight of decades of community gatherings. Tonight, the usual smell of coffee and sugar cookies mixed with something electric. Determination. Aunt Geneva stood at the front of the room, her silver hair gleaming under fluorescent lights. Her voice carried clear and strong across the rows of metal folding chairs. "These are the Wells women," she announced, one hand on Lena's shoulder. "And they need our help." The crowd, mostly seniors and veterans, nodded grimly. Lena recognized the look in their eyes. It was the same steady gaze she'd seen in soldiers who wouldn't back down. Mr. Peterson, a Korean War veteran with thick glasses, raised his hand. "My granddaughter showed me that edited video they posted. Disgraceful. Just disgraceful." "And that school principal," Mrs. Martinez added, her cane tapping the floor for emphasis. "Threatening a child's future because she won't play nice with bullies? Not in our town." Aunt Geneva moved to a whiteboard, uncapping a marker with flourish. "That's why we're here. The mall board meets next Tuesday. They need to hear from every one of us." Lena watched as Geneva outlined their plan. The seniors would write personal letters, handwritten, their signatures carrying the weight of respected community members. The veterans would focus on security concerns, questioning why the mall hired an ex-cop with a history of falsifying reports. "Remember," Geneva instructed, "be specific but respectful. We want change, not chaos." The scratching of pens filled the room. Mrs. Chen, a retired English teacher, helped others phrase their concerns clearly. Mr. Washington, who'd served in Vietnam, shared security protocol knowledge with other veterans. Lena moved between the tables, answering questions and sharing details. The support felt like armor around her heart. Not just for her and Amara, but for every kid who'd ever faced hatred in those mall corridors. As the letter-writing continued, she noticed Mr. Ruiz hovering near the coffee station. He looked nervous, his janitor's uniform still on from his shift. Their eyes met, and he gave a slight nod toward the hallway. "Excuse me," Lena murmured to Geneva, who was deep in conversation about proper envelope formatting. In the dimmer light of the church hallway, Mr. Ruiz's hands shook slightly as he pulled a small USB drive from his pocket. "Back hallway camera," he whispered. "I made a backup copy before they could delete it." Lena's heart jumped, but her face remained calm. "Why are you helping us?" He looked down, twisting his worn wedding ring. "I clean that hallway every night. I've seen things. Rich kids thinking they can do whatever they want. Someone needs to say no." He pressed the drive into her palm. "Just don't tell anyone where you got it. You're risking your job." A tired smile crossed his face. "Some things matter more than a paycheck, Senora." Back home, after the meeting wrapped up, Lena's hands trembled slightly as she plugged the USB drive into her laptop. Amara sat beside her, hugging her knees to her chest. The video player opened. The footage was crystal clear, High-definition security video showing the service corridor from an elevated angle. The timestamp matched exactly. They watched in silence as the scene unfolded. There was Amara, backing away from the boys, Cody's aggressive stance, the slap that sent the scarf flying, Brett grabbing Amara's wrist, every second recorded in stark, undeniable detail. Tears slid down Amara's cheeks, but they weren't tears of fear this time. "They can't lie about this," she whispered. "They can't edit this to make me look bad." Lena squeezed her daughter's hand, her throat tight. She remembered countless missions where victory hinged on having the right intel at the right moment. This felt the same. A turning point captured in pixels. Working quickly, she copied the footage to 3 separate encrypted drives. On the first, she wrote "Truth Copy" in her precise handwriting. The computer's soft hum filled the room as files transferred, each completion chime like a small victory bell. "What happens now?" Amara asked, wiping her eyes. "Now we make sure this evidence can't disappear." Lena's voice was steady. "1 copy for our lawyer, 1 for safekeeping, and 1—" She held up the 3rd drive, "for when the time is exactly right." The kitchen clock ticked steadily. Outside, crickets chirped in the darkness. Inside, mother and daughter sat in the blue glow of the computer screen, watching truth copy itself into existence, bit by digital bit. The flash drives felt warm in Lena's palm, small but powerful, like bullets made of light instead of lead. She placed them carefully in her lockbox, each one a piece of armor against lies, against power, against the kind of casual cruelty that assumed it would never face consequences. Around them, the house settled into its nighttime creaks and sighs. But there was nothing sleepy about this moment. This was awakening. Evidence and allies and truth aligning like stars into a constellation of justice. In the fellowship hall across town, dozens of letters dried in neat stacks, waiting for morning mail. Mr. Ruiz drove home with an easier conscience. Aunt Geneva made final calls to her network of church friends. And somewhere in the quiet darkness, a security camera kept recording, its lens a steady witness to whatever might come next. Downtown's glass buildings reflected Wednesday's morning sun as Lena parked outside Aisha Porter's law office. The polished brass nameplate read, "Civil Rights and Justice Law Group," simple and direct, like the attorney herself. Aisha met Lena at reception, her natural hair in neat twists, wearing a charcoal suit that meant business. "Let's dig in," she said, leading the way to a conference room already set up with laptops and legal pads. 3 sources of evidence, Lena explained, laying out the drives. Mall security footage from Mr. Ruiz, Amara's phone audio, and bystander videos from the confrontation. Aisha nodded, fingers flying over her keyboard. "Perfect. We'll sync the timestamps first." They worked methodically, piecing together the timeline. The security footage played silently on one screen, while Amara's phone audio ran on another. Every few seconds, Aisha paused to make notes. "Look here," she pointed. 14:37:22. Cody says, "Let's have some fun," right before they start following Amara. Then at 14:38:05, you can hear him use that slur, and the video shows him shoving her simultaneously. Lena leaned forward, studying the frames. "And there's Maya calling 911 at 14:39:10. "This is airtight," Aisha said, satisfaction in her voice. "No room for their edited version to stand up." She opened a fresh document. Time for the public statement. "We need to be strategic, clear facts, emotional truth, zero hyperbole." They crafted each sentence carefully. Aisha's legal precision balanced Lena's military directness. The final version was 2 pages, short enough for media, but detailed enough to demolish any counter-narrative. "I've arranged an interview with Danielle Ortiz," Aisha said, checking her phone. Channel 8 News. She's got a reputation for fairness and follow-through. Can you get Amara here by 2? Lena nodded. She's ready. The afternoon sun slanted through the conference room windows when Danielle arrived. She was younger than Lena expected, but her handshake was firm and her eyes sharp. She set up her equipment efficiently, positioning chairs for the best lighting. I want to be clear, Danielle said, adjusting her microphone. I'm here because this story matters. Not for ratings or clicks, but because our community needs to see the truth. Amara sat straight-backed beside Lena, wearing her debate team blazer. Under the table, her hands twisted nervously, but her voice stayed steady as she described the attack. I wasn't going to let them make me feel small, she said. My mom taught me that standing up to bullies isn't just about being brave. It's about being smart, keeping evidence, staying focused. Lena watched her daughter with fierce pride. Every word was measured, thoughtful, the opposite of the aggressive troublemaker. Cody's edited video tried to paint her as. Danielle's questions were thorough but gentle. She played portions of the security footage, letting the images speak for themselves. When she showed the moment of Cody's initial shove, Amara's hands finally stilled in her lap. The truth had its own power. Will you release the full video? Danielle asked. Yes, Aisha answered. Tonight. Uncut, with synchronized audio. The public deserves to see exactly what happened. After Danielle packed up her equipment, she paused at the door. This airs at 6. Be ready for reaction. They were ready, but the response still stunned them. By 8 o'clock, Justice for Amara was trending locally. The mall's social media filled with angry comments. Veterans groups shared the video, highlighting Lena's professional response. Parents demanded answers from the school board. Principal Brandt's email arrived at 9:15 p.m. After reviewing new evidence, all disciplinary actions are suspended pending further investigation. We take student safety seriously. Translation, Aisha said over speakerphone. She's running scared. Near midnight, Lena made hot chocolate the way Amara liked it. Extra marshmallows, a dash of cinnamon. They sat at their kitchen counter, the house quiet except for the soft pings of supportive messages still arriving on their phones. Mom? Amara's voice was sleepy, but content. Remember when you taught me chess? How you said sometimes you have to sacrifice a pawn to protect your position. Lena sipped her drink. I think I understand better now. We had to let them show their true selves before we could prove what they really are. Lena smiled, a rare, full smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes. First win, she whispered, clinking her mug against Amara's. They sat together in comfortable silence, marshmallows melting slowly into sweet spirals. Outside, the neighborhood slept. Inside, mother and daughter shared the warm certainty of truth finally heard, finally seen, finally believed. Amara's phone buzzed. Another message from Maya, sharing screenshots of positive comments. The notification light blinked steadily, like a beacon. Each message represented someone choosing their side, choosing truth over power, choosing to stand against hatred. The kitchen clock ticked past midnight. Lena watched Amara scroll through the responses, her daughter's face peaceful in the soft glow of the screen. A perfect moment, not of victory yet, but of validation. The first step toward justice, one not with fists or fury, but with patience, preparation, and unshakable truth. Friday morning dawned gray and humid. News vans clustered outside the county courthouse, their satellite dishes raised like metal flowers seeking light. District Attorney Marshall Haller stood at the podium, his silver hair perfect, his blue tie a careful choice for television. As both a father and a public servant, he began, hands gripping the podium's edges, I'm deeply concerned by the rush to judgment in this unfortunate incident. Camera shutters clicked rapidly. My son, Cody, has always been an exemplary student and community member. In their living room, Lena and Amara watched the live broadcast. Amara sat cross-legged on the couch, sketching angry lines in her notebook. Lena stood, arms crossed, face impassive. The edited video circulating online fails to show the full context, Haller continued, his voice carrying practiced concern. Multiple witnesses describe Ms. Wells as combative and aggressive during the encounter. My son attempted to de-escalate the situation until security arrived. That's a lie, Amara whispered, her pencil pressing so hard it tore the paper. Haller held up a stack of papers. I have signed statements from students present that day. They paint a very different picture than the media's current narrative suggests. He paused, allowing the cameras to focus on the documents. As a community, we must resist the urge to let social media distortion inflame tensions. Lena's phone buzzed. A text from Aisha. Pure theater. Those statements won't hold up. But the damage was spreading. Within hours, local news comment sections filled with newly skeptical posts. Maybe we rush to judge? There's always two sides. The DA wouldn't lie. Then came the doxing. The first message arrived at 3:47 p.m. An anonymous account posting the Wells' complete address, including a street view photo of their house. Visit the troublemaker here, the caption read. Within minutes, the post spread across multiple platforms. Threats followed like bitter rain. Someone should teach her respect. Patriots know what to do. Time for some real justice, Lena called the police. Officer Martinez sounded sympathetic but unhelpful. We'll increase patrols in your area, he said. Document any direct threats. Call 911 if you see suspicious activity. That's it? Lena's voice stayed level, but her fingers tightened on the phone. Without specific credible threats, our options are limited. I'm sorry. Lena hung up and went to work. She installed motion sensor lights at every corner of the house, testing angles and sensitivity. She checked window locks, reinforced door frames, and set up security cameras with cloud backup. Next, she gathered the neighbors. Ms. Chen from next door brought coffee. Mr. Patterson, a retired mailman, arrived with his dog Zeus. The Rodriguez family, all 5 of them, squeezed onto the porch steps. We need a watch schedule, Lena explained, passing out a grid she'd prepared. 2-hour shifts, pairs only, basic surveillance patterns. She demonstrated sight lines, blind spots, suspicious behavior indicators. Her neighbors listened intently, filling in shift preferences. Nobody messes with our block, Ms. Chen declared, claiming the dawn patrol slot. Zeus and I take midnight, Mr. Patterson added. He's got good ears. By sunset, 12 households had joined the rotation. Aunt Geneva's church friends volunteered for extra coverage. Maya's parents offered their security cameras feeds. But that night, alone in her room, Amara finally cracked. Lena found her sitting on the floor, back against her bed, tears streaming silently down her face. Why can't they just see? Amara's voice shook. The video shows everything. We did everything right. We have proof. Why don't they care about the truth? Lena sat beside her daughter, their shoulders touching. Some people don't want truth, she said softly. They want comfort. They want to believe their children could never be cruel. Their leaders never lie. Their world never need changing. So we just let them win? No. Lena's voice hardened slightly. We hold our ground. We keep our dignity. We trust that truth has its own power. Not fast like lies, but deep like roots. Amara leaned into her mother's shoulder. I'm scared sometimes, she admitted. Not of them, exactly. More like scared of how much hate there is, how easy it is for people to look away. I know, baby. Lena stroked her daughter's hair. But look how many people stood up too. Ms. Chen learning patrol patterns at 68. Mr. Ruiz risking his job. Maya standing firm. The truth brings out courage in people. You just have to give it time. They sat together until Amara's tears dried. Outside, crickets chirped, and occasional footsteps marked the neighbor patrols passing by. Eventually, Amara fell asleep, and Lena carried her to bed like she used to when Amara was small. Near midnight, Lena sat by the living room window, watching the street. Her service pistol lay on the side table, not displayed, not hidden. Like her military training, it was simply a tool, ready if needed, but not her first or best defense. She prayed silently, not for protection or victory, but for wisdom, for the strength to keep fighting clean when others fought dirty, for her daughter's spirit to stay bright despite the shadows others cast. The motion lights flickered as Mr. Patterson and Zeus passed by, right on schedule. Lena touched her window in greeting. The glass felt cool and solid under her fingers, like truth itself, transparent, strong, and ultimately unbreakable. Monday morning brought a crisp autumn chill. Fallen leaves skittered across the courthouse steps as Lena and Amara climbed toward the heavy bronze doors. Amara wore her debate team blazer, a small act of defiance that made Lena proud. They'd arrived early to meet Aisha Porter, hoping to discuss next steps before the building filled with the usual crowd of lawyers and clerks. "Looking sharp," Aisha called from the top step, her leather briefcase tucked under one arm. Her smile faded as she noticed movement at the edges of the plaza. News vans were pulling up, reporters spilling out with cameras and microphones at the ready. "That's weird," Amara said. "We didn't tell anyone about the meeting." Lena's shoulders tensed. Years of tactical training screamed ambush. Someone tipped them off. A man in a charcoal suit approached, his polished shoes clicking against stone. He carried a thick manila envelope and wore the practiced neutral expression of someone used to delivering bad news. "Ms. Wells," he addressed both women. "And Ms. Wells? I'm Richard Decker with Hamilton Legal Services." He extended the envelope. "You've been served." Lena took the package, her face carefully blank as she opened it. Amara pressed close, reading over her shoulder. The legal language was dense, but certain phrases jumped out like slaps. Defamation of character, malicious intent, damages in excess of $2 million. Filed by Marshall Haller on behalf of minor child Cody Haller. Camera shutters clicked in rapid succession. Reporters shouted questions. "Ms. Wells, any comment on the defamation suit? Did you expect this response from the DA's office? How will this affect your daughter's college applications?" Aisha stepped forward, shielding her clients. "No comments at this time. Please respect their privacy." From the courthouse entrance, Marshall Haller emerged, straightening his tie. He didn't approach, but his smirk carried across the plaza. The timing was precise, exactly 1 week before Amara's first college interviews. The message was clear. Back down, or watch your future crumble. "Inside," Aisha directed quietly. "My office is on the 3rd floor." They rode the elevator in tense silence. Amara's hands trembled slightly as she clutched her notebook. Lena wanted to comfort her, but knew any display of emotion would feed tomorrow's headlines. Aisha's office was a haven of calm. Soft lights, muted colors, comfortable chairs. She closed the door and engaged the white noise machine before speaking. "This is a slap suit," she explained, settling behind her desk. "Strategic lawsuit against public participation. It's meant to intimidate and drain resources. The timing isn't accidental," Lena noted. "No." Aisha's mouth tightened. "They're hoping college pressure will make you settle quickly. Accept a gag order. Let them control the narrative." Amara's phone buzzed. She checked it, face falling. "The fundraiser page is frozen. Someone reported it as fraudulent. Another buzz. This time, Lena's phone. An email from Jefferson High's college counseling office. Urgent meeting requested regarding application strategy in light of recent developments. They're trying to isolate us, Lena observed. Cut off support. Make us feel alone. Aisha nodded. Standard playbook. They'll probably leak parts of the lawsuit to sympathetic media. Paint Amara as aggressive, you as militant. They want donors and supporters to get nervous, back away. As if on cue, Amara's phone lit up with a text from her debate coach. Need to discuss team captain position. Recent publicity concerns. Tears welled in Amara's eyes, but she blinked them back. Everything we built, all the truth we showed, they're just erasing it. Not erasing, Aisha corrected. Burying. But truth doesn't stay buried. She opened her laptop. We'll file an anti-SLAPP motion. Counter-sue for malicious prosecution. Request sanctions against Haller for abuse of office. How long? Lena asked. Months, maybe longer. They're counting on the delay hurting Amara more than Cody. Outside the window, news vans still circled the courthouse like vultures. On a bench across the street, Cody sat with his friends, laughing and pointing up at Aisha's office. The drive home was silent. Amara stared at her phone, watching support drain away in real time. The fundraiser remained frozen. The school paper pulled their sympathetic editorial. College forums filled with warnings about controversy and liability. Inside their house, Amara finally broke. She collapsed onto the couch, her blazer wrinkled, her notebook falling forgotten to the floor. We did everything right, she whispered. Her voice cracked. We had proof. We stayed calm. We told the truth. And they're still winning. Lena sat beside her daughter, eyes dark with resolve. Her hand found Amara's, squeezing gently. Then we'll finish it right. 3 days after the lawsuit hit, silence fell like a hammer. Judge Patricia Reynolds granted the temporary gag order, citing potential jury bias and protection of minors. The order covered all parties, but its teeth were aimed straight at the Wells family. Lena sat at her kitchen table that morning, staring at the official document. No public statements, no social media, no interviews. Even showing the unedited video could trigger contempt charges. The courts had tied their hands while Haller's PR machine worked overtime. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maya. Mr. Ruiz got suspended today. They said he violated data security policies. I'm so sorry. Lena's jaw clenched. The janitor had risked everything to share that security footage. Now he was paying the price. She couldn't even speak up to defend him. Another message arrived, this one from Maya's mother. Maya needs to focus on school. She can't participate in any more interviews or statements. I'm sure you understand. Understanding wasn't the problem. The isolation strategy was working perfectly. One by one, their allies were being picked off or scared away. Lena drove to Aisha's office, weaving through news vans still camped outside the courthouse. Inside, Aisha's normally pristine desk was buried under motion drafts and precedent citations. We're fighting the gag order from every angle, Aisha said, not looking up from her computer. First Amendment, equal protection, prior restraint. But Reynolds is known for letting these stand through trial. How long? Months. Maybe longer. Aisha finally met her eyes. They're betting you'll break first. One angry post, one emotional interview. Then they'll demand sanctions. While they keep spreading their version everywhere. Exactly. The system protects itself. Lena's phone buzzed again. An unfamiliar number, but the area code was from Fort Bragg. The message was brief. Sergeant, heard about your situation. Some brothers want to help. Extrajudicial solutions available. Say the word. She knew what that meant. old teammates offering to create some pressure of their own, make the bullies feel what real fear meant. But that path led nowhere good. "No," she typed back. "Justice has to mean something." She deleted the message thread completely. That afternoon, she visited Mr. Ruiz at his small apartment off Mountain View Drive. His shoulders were slumped, but his dignity remained intact as he served her coffee in his best cup. 23 years at that mall," he said quietly. "Never one complaint. Now they say I broke protocol, endangered security." He stirred his coffee endlessly. "My daughter is in college. This job pays her tuition. We'll make this right," Lena promised, though the words felt hollow under the gag order's weight. "Truth always shows itself," Mr. Ruiz said. "My father taught me that. In his country, they tried to silence people too. But truth finds a way." Driving home, Lena passed Jefferson High. Students streamed out after debate practice, Amara's old team. Her daughter had resigned as captain yesterday to avoid distractions. The official story claimed she was focusing on academics. Everyone knew it was a lie. The sunset painted the church windows gold as Lena slipped inside during evening choir practice. Aunt Geneva's voice soared with the sopranos, but her eyes found Lena immediately. She nodded toward the front pews. Lena knelt, the familiar wood smooth under her hands. The choir's harmonies washed over her, voices raised because they could still speak when she couldn't. We shall not be moved." The old civil rights anthem filled the sacred space. Some of these singers had marched in the 60s. They knew about silence and power, about waiting and persisting. Just like a tree that's planted by the water. Lena closed her eyes. She thought of Amara's quiet strength, of Mr. Ruiz's gentle courage, of Maya's torn loyalty. She thought of all the people watching, learning the wrong lesson about justice. We shall not be moved. The harmonies built, layers of defiance in four-part glory. A few elderly deacons dabbed their eyes, remembering other battles, other times when truth seemed buried. The choir director raised her hands, drawing out the final notes. In the lingering resonance, Lena remained kneeling. Her lips moved in silent prayer, not for victory, but for endurance, for wisdom to find a path through the silence, for strength to keep fighting clean when dirty tactics beckoned. Behind her, Geneva's voice carried one last time, soft but clear. We shall not be moved. The words hung in the air like a promise, like a battle cry wrapped in gospel silk. Whatever came next, they would face it standing firm. Truth would find its voice again. And until then, they would endure. They would persist. They would keep their dignity while the enemy revealed its true nature. The system might protect itself, but systems could be changed. Not quickly, not easily, but inevitably, if people refused to break, refused to back down, refused to be moved. The last rays of sunset painted saints in the stained glass windows, their faces serene through centuries of struggle. Lena stayed kneeling as the choir members gathered their music and filed out, each one touching her shoulder gently as they passed. No words were needed. They understood about silence, about waiting, about holding firm until justice found its moment. Friday dawned gray and humid. Thunder muttered in the distance as Maya pedaled her bike through empty streets, a flash drive burning a hole in her jacket pocket. She'd skipped first period, something she'd never dared before. But this couldn't wait. Amara answered her careful knock at the back door, eyes widening. Maya, what are you... Inside. Quick. Maya glanced over her shoulder, heart racing. Her parents thought she was at school. The mall thought she was sick. But after 3 sleepless nights, she couldn't stay quiet anymore. They huddled at the Wells kitchen table. Lena emerged from her home office, reading glasses perched on her nose, looking exhausted but alert. "I found something," Maya whispered, hands shaking as she pulled out the drive. "In the mall's computer system." Amara touched her friend's trembling fingers. "How?" "Remember when they upgraded the boutique's inventory software last month? They never changed the admin password from the default. I can still log in remotely." Maya's voice quavered. "I know I shouldn't have, but after what they did to Mr. Ruiz." Lena's expression remained neutral, but her eyes sharpened. "What did you find?" Maya plugged in the drive. "I checked the network logs from the day Cody posted that edited video. The one making Amara look violent?" She pulled up a spreadsheet. "It was uploaded from an internal IP address, Officer Madsen's office computer." Silence fell. Rain began pattering against the windows. "He helped them edit it?" Amara's voice cracked. "Not just that." Maya opened another file. "The original security footage he claimed was corrupted, it's still on the server. He just moved it to a hidden folder and restricted access. I found the creation date, file size, everything." Lena was already dialing. "Aisha, can you come now? Bring your laptop." She paused. "We have digital proof." 30 minutes later, Aisha Porter sat at the table, her legal pad filling with rapid notes. "This is exactly what we needed. Metadata doesn't lie." She looked at Maya. "Are you willing to testify about how you found this?" Maya's hands twisted in her lap. "My parents." "We can request partial seal of your testimony," Aisha said gently. "Protect your identity in public records. But we need someone to authenticate these findings." "I'll do it." Maya straightened her shoulders. "Mr. Ruiz lost his job for telling the truth. I can't be less brave." Aisha's fingers flew across her laptop keyboard, drafting an emergency motion. "This proves coordination between Madsen and the Hallers. The edited video didn't just happen to make Amara look bad, it was a deliberate fabrication using mall resources." Thunder cracked closer. The rain intensified. By noon, Judge Reynolds had approved an immediate subpoena for all mall security system records. Aisha's team swept in with IT forensics experts, while Madsen sputtered excuses about routine file management. The mall's head technician, faced with potential charges of evidence tampering, broke quickly. "Officer Madsen ordered me to restrict access to the original footage," he admitted. "Said it was a privacy issue. Then he had me set up video editing software on his workstation. Against policy." Danielle Ortiz from Channel 7 arrived with her crew just as Madsen was escorted out. Despite the gag order, she could report objective facts. Mall security chief suspended pending criminal investigation. Original footage recovered intact. Questions of coordination in evidence manipulation. The camera caught Madsen's face, no longer swaggering but ashen with fear, as he was led to a police car. Different officers this time, from the State Investigation Unit. Inside the mall's security office, forensics teams worked methodically. Every file, every log entry, every deleted fragment told the same story. A coordinated effort to destroy evidence and smear a victim. Maya watched the coverage on her phone during lunch period, hidden in the library's back corner. Messages flooded in from classmates who'd seen the news. For once, they weren't attacks or accusations. "Did you really find the proof?" "You're so brave." "Tell Amara we're sorry we didn't speak up before." After school, Maya returned to the Wells house. Her hands had finally stopped shaking. The weight of secrets had lifted, replaced by something that felt like pride. Amara met her at the door with a fierce hug. "My hero," she whispered. Lena appeared behind them, her military bearing softened by emotion. "Come here, sweetheart," she said, opening her arms to Maya. "You just turned the tide." Maya melted into the embrace, tears finally spilling. All the fear, all the sleepless nights, all the guilt about staying silent before, it broke like a fever. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky, nature's own drumbeat of justice. The storm that had threatened all day was finally breaking. Rain lashed the windows, washing away weeks of dust and tension. "I was so scared," Maya admitted into Lena's shoulder. "That's what makes it brave," Lena murmured. "Doing the right thing even when you're terrified." She pulled back to look Maya in the eyes. "You chose truth over fear. That's what real courage looks like." Through the window, lightning flickered. The storm's fury matched the moment, cleansing, powerful, unstoppable. Like truth itself, it couldn't be contained forever. It could only be delayed until the pressure built too high. The three of them stood together, listening to the thunder's approaching rumble. The sound carried echoes of change, of justice finding its voice again. After weeks of enforced silence, the truth was finally breaking free, carried by an unlikely hero who'd found her courage when it mattered most. The courthouse hummed with tension. Every wooden bench in Judge Reynolds's courtroom creaked under the weight of spectators. Veterans in pressed uniforms, church elders in their Sunday best, students wearing Stand with Amara buttons. News cameras lined the hallway outside, forbidden from the proceedings, but hungry for the outcome. Lena sat ramrod straight beside Amara, her military bearing unchanged despite weeks of strain. Aisha arranged documents at the defense table with precise movements. Across the aisle, D.A. Marshall Haller's expensive suit couldn't hide his unease. "All rise," the bailiff called. Judge Reynolds entered, her face stern. "Be seated." She adjusted her reading glasses. "I've reviewed the complete evidence package submitted by the defense, including the recovered security footage and metadata analysis." Officer Madsen approached the bench. Trent Madsen shuffled forward in his civilian clothes, stripped of his mall security uniform. His shoulders hunched as if trying to disappear. "Explain to this court why you claimed the original security footage was corrupted when it clearly wasn't." The judge's voice could have cut steel. "Your Honor, Madsen swallowed hard. "There was an oversight in the file management system." "An oversight?" Judge Reynolds leaned forward. "The IT forensics report shows you specifically directed the mall's technician to restrict access, then used mall resources to edit footage that was later used to defame Ms. Wells. That's not an oversight. That's deliberate manipulation of evidence." Madsen's face went gray. "I was following established procedures for what? Covering up racial harassment? Helping privileged teens avoid consequences?" The judge's glasses flashed. "Your testimony is not credible, Mr. Madsen. Return to your seat." In the gallery, Aunt Geneva gripped her cane tighter. Maya, sitting between her parents, held her breath. "Mr. Haller," Judge Reynolds continued, "these text messages between you and your son are particularly troubling." The district attorney stood, smoothing his tie. "Your Honor, private communications between a father who happens to be the district attorney, coaching his son on how to manipulate testimony?" She held up printed pages. "Remember to say she was aggressive first. Stick to the script we practiced." "This isn't parental guidance, Mr. Haller. This is witness tampering." Cody slumped in his seat, no trace of his former swagger. His father's face had turned to stone. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "using your office's resources to file a retaliatory defamation suit, timed to damage Ms. Wells's college prospects, shows a disturbing abuse of power." She set down the papers and removed her glasses. "This case represents everything wrong with our justice system. Authority figures protecting privileged offenders while victimizing the vulnerable. Not today. Not in my courtroom." Thunder of a different kind rumbled through the gallery. Murmurs of approval quickly silenced by the bailiff's stern look. The defamation suit against Amara and Lena Wells is dismissed with prejudice. The judge's gavel crack echoed. The gag order is lifted, effective immediately. Mr. Haller, I'm referring this matter to the State Bar Association for ethics review. Amara grabbed her mother's hand. Lena's fingers tightened briefly, the only crack in her composure. Additionally, Judge Reynolds continued, I'm recommending criminal charges against Officer Madsen for evidence tampering and filing false reports. Mr. Haller, you'll need to appoint a special prosecutor given your obvious conflict of interest. She leaned back, surveying the packed courtroom. Ms. Wells, you and your daughter have demonstrated remarkable restraint and dignity throughout this ordeal. The law should have protected you from the start. Instead, you had to fight not only against racial harassment, but against the very institutions meant to ensure justice. Amara sat taller, chin lifting. Let today's ruling send a clear message, the judge declared. No one is above accountability. No amount of privilege or position can justify hate, and no parent's influence can shield their child from the consequences of cruelty. The gavel fell one final time. Court is adjourned. The gallery erupted. As people stood, their voices rose in a wave of relief and vindication. Aunt Geneva's church friends dabbed tears. Veterans nodded in grim satisfaction. Reporters spilled through the courthouse doors, cameras flashing. Headline alerts buzzed on phones throughout the room. DA's office implicated in evidence tampering. Mall security chief faces charges. Hate incident cover-up exposed. Haller rushed his son through a side exit, ignoring questions. Madsen slumped past alone, head down, already abandoned by his former allies. Outside on the courthouse steps, sunshine broke through clouds. A crowd had gathered. Students from Jefferson High, mall workers wearing their name tags, seniors from Aunt Geneva's church holding handmade signs. Truth wins. No more silence. Justice for Amara. When Lena and Amara emerged, the cheering started. Maya pushed through to hug her friend. Mr. Ruiz stood with his family, smiling quietly. Aunt Geneva raised her cane high like a victory banner, her church hat glorious in the sun. Lena surveyed the crowd, her neighbors, her daughter's defenders, her community. Slowly, precisely, she lifted her hand in a formal salute. The veterans in the crowd returned it instantly. Amara looked up at her mother, tears streaming freely now. After weeks of enforced silence, after nights of fear and doubt, after watching institutions fail and power try to crush truth, they had won. Not with violence or vengeance, but with dignity, discipline, and unshakable courage. The crowd's cheers echoed off the courthouse columns. Justice had been delayed, but not denied. Truth had been tested, but not broken. And one brave girl's stand against hate had awakened an entire community's conscience. Spring sunlight streamed through Riverstone Galleria's glass dome, catching on new purple and gold banners that proclaimed "All customers welcome" in bold letters. The mall buzzed with weekend shoppers, but something had shifted in the month since the courthouse victory. Security guards smiled more. Store owners stood in their doorways, greeting everyone equally. And in the main corridor, a framed code of conduct spelled out zero tolerance for harassment. Amara walked beside her mother, scanning the morning headlines on her phone. D.A. Marshall Haller resigns amid state ethics investigation, read the top story. His press statement cited family considerations, but everyone knew the truth. The State Bar Association's probe into witness tampering and abuse of office had left him no choice. Did you see about Officer Madsen? Amara showed Lena the screen. The former mall security chief faced multiple charges: evidence tampering, filing false reports, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. The mall board had fired him within hours of the court ruling. "Justice takes time," Lena said, her combat boots clicking steadily on the polished floor. "But it comes." They passed the boutique where Amara still worked part-time. Maya waved from behind the counter, her assistant manager badge gleaming. After everything, the mall had promoted her for Outstanding Character in Crisis. Near the food court, they spotted Mr. Ruiz buffing the floors with his usual quiet dedication. His reinstatement had come with a formal apology and back pay. He nodded at them, the hint of a smile beneath his mustache. His courage in preserving that crucial security footage had helped break the case open. "Principal Brandt's replacement starts next week," Amara mentioned. The former principal's early retirement hadn't surprised anyone. Her attempts to both sides' racial harassment had destroyed her credibility. The school board had accepted her resignation with obvious relief. "And Cody?" Lena asked, though she knew the answer. 20 hours a week at the scholarship fund. Mandatory. Amara's voice held no satisfaction, just calm certainty. The boy who'd terrorized her had lost his student body position, his sports captaincy, and his college acceptance. Now he stuffed envelopes and logged donations for the very foundation created in response to his actions. They rounded the corner toward the community center, where the Wells Foundation for Truth and Justice was hosting its launch ceremony. Aunt Geneva had insisted on using the mall space, right where it happened, so nobody forgets. The conference room overflowed with supporters. Veterans in pressed uniforms sat beside church elders in bright Sunday hats. Students wearing purple ribbons mingled with mall employees on their breaks. Maya's parents chatted with Mr. Ruiz's family. Reporter Danielle Ortiz set up her camera in the back. Aunt Geneva presided from her seat of honor, resplendent in a purple suit. "There's my warriors," she called, as Lena and Amara entered. "Come here and let me look at you proper." Amara hugged her aunt while Lena arranged papers at the podium. The foundation had already raised enough for 4 full scholarships, with donations still flowing in. Each would go to students who demonstrated moral courage in the face of injustice. When Amara stepped up to speak, the room hushed. Gone was the frightened girl from the service corridor. In her place stood a young woman who had found her voice. "A month ago, in this mall, I learned that truth doesn't defend itself," she began. "It needs people willing to stand up, speak out, and stick together. I learned that justice isn't just about laws. It's about community." She gestured to the crowd. "It's about veterans who recognize a righteous fight, church members who pray with their feet and wallets, students who refuse to be bystanders, workers who risk their jobs to do what's right." Heads nodded. Mr. Ruiz dabbed his eyes. "This foundation isn't about punishment or revenge," Amara continued. "It's about changing the future. Every scholarship we give says to another young person, 'You are not alone. Your truth matters. And this community has your back.'" The applause lasted several minutes. As people mingled afterward over punch and cookies, Lena touched her daughter's shoulder. "Ready for one more thing?" They walked to the boutique where it had all started. The same blue silk scarf still hung in the window, the one Amara had tried to buy for Aunt Geneva before Cody and his friends attacked. "It waited for us," Amara said softly. The young clerk rang them up with trembling fingers. "I wanted to tell you," she whispered. "You're the reason my daughter's not afraid to speak up anymore. She saw what you did, how you fought with dignity. It changed her." Outside the store, Lena paused. With deliberate movements, she unwrapped her wrist brace for the last time. The physical therapy had done its work. Her hand flexed smoothly, healed at last. "What now?" Amara asked, watching the brace disappear into her mother's bag. Lena smiled, not her warrior smile, but the soft one reserved for moments of pure peace. "Now we live free," she said. and they remember why they froze. The mall light caught the silk scarf in Amara's hands, making it shimmer like hope. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please share it with your friends and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have handpicked 2 stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day.